Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be talking about the top performing King Croaker teams for today. First of all, we'll talk about the Talene version, which is the overall top scoring team for King Croaker, and then we'll talk about the alternative if you don't have Talene, and then we'll talk about even more free to play alternatives towards the end. And okay, so All Great Gamer has shared the overall optimal team is going to be with the Resonating Spell artifact, but actually is not on your key damage dealer, which is Talene. It's going to be on the Odie, because Odie can get more benefit from the Resonating Spell. Each time the Resonator casts their ultimate, they're going to have an attack buff of 35%. Odie is going to repeatedly cast his ultimate. Talene is going to kind of continuously, from the beginning, fewer ultimate casts basically over the course of the fight. So she's not going to get as much advantage of it as Odie is. And Odie deals a lot of damage to this boss. Rainier is actually also going to give his Elite Magic Charm bonus to the Odie because we want to have Thorn Soul Pacting the Talene to protect her, to be continuously ultimating for longer. And Koko here for the damage reduction. Koko is actually the best choice here, better than even Smokey or Mola, because that damage reduction buff you get from her ultimate is so powerful. It also provides life drain to your heroes, and so they can sustain themselves back up without a healer. So we're going to get and watch the replay. So Koko up in the front, Thorin behind the Koko, and Thorin is going to be soul pacted to the Talene. Odie right in the back with the Resonating Spell, and Rainier in front of the Odie. This is the positioning. So let's take a look. Talene is about to cast her ultimate, and watch Talene, and let's see whether she actually has to ever revive and recast her ultimate or not. Because the optimal teams are going to be as much uptime of Talene's ultimate as possible, and so ideally she never has to recast. The Mythic Plus of Koko is a big deal though. Take a look at how much shielding value you get from that, and that provides a lot of protection. Like that snowball right there probably just hardly did any damage because of the shield taking it. And there's really high uptime of the damage reduction buff from the Koko. He gets to recast it right before this next bubble goes down. And Odie just firing off, dealing his damage from the back. Okay, so there was a burst because another insta-kill went off on the Thorn. And so the Talene sacrificed some of her health to give Thorn a third life. And this is important because the King Croaker boss deals 3 insta-kills over the course of the fight. So if your Thorn is at Mythic Plus and he's soul pacted to someone, then he's able to take all of those 3 insta-kills without needing any of your other heroes to take them. Yeah, look at this. Talene has not missed or has not interrupted her ultimate even once. I wonder whether it's going to continue throughout the whole fight. This is pretty insane. Definitely crazy. And this is why she's able to output so much damage. And the insane thing about Talene's damage is it's actually area of effect damage. And still, it is out-damaging even the crazy single target damage of Odie. But Talene will definitely be very effective into Dream Realm bosses. Like, if for example, this Plague Creeper Dream Realm boss is added in future seasons, which could very well be the case, Talene's going to be very effective there. Just like she is in Skyclops to clear the minions, clearing the Plague Rots as well, she does a good job at that. Okay, so Talene did not die or have to revive a single time. 70% of the boss's health. That is insane damage output. Yeah, okay. So now we're going to take a look at the next best option if you don't have Talene. So that is going to be the team that I've been running. So we did 62.3% of the boss's health. Like, yeah, 8% lower than the Talene team, but not terrible. And really, All Great Gamer's score is pretty high. Even for people running the Talene team, it's difficult for them to get up to 70% because he has really well-invested team. So rather than doing showing you the replay, we'll do another run and see whether we can maybe even break this record, but I find it unlikely. So this is the optimal team. Basically, you have the Odie position swap to the front, and you have 2 forms of attack buff for him, just ramping him up as much as possible. Smokey and Mola. Controlling the on arena, gonna give your team 20% attack. Smokey, gonna give your team 20% attack in the aura. You have Rainier, Elite Magic Charms, gonna give Odie more attack. You have Odie's Charms himself increasing his damage output, and then you have Thorin and Rainier to have debuffs onto the boss to increase the damage the boss receives. So all in all, this is like fully maximize the damage of Odie comp. If you don't have Mola, you'll probably have to replace Mola for Koko, and then your damage output will be lower. But Koko would be a good option because I think it can be risky to run only Smokey as your healer without another form of protection. Okay, we have 3 level 574s. Might as well give it to our hard-hitting, maybe, yeah, Smokey and Mola, why not? Okay. Let's see, with the resonating spell, of course, because that will ramp up Odie's damage the most. So Mola goes off to the side, but I mean, it should still be fine to buff up our entire team. Like the Thorn and the Odie, I mean. Like, there's no way that Mola can buff the backline as if we're position swapping Odie, because Odie is taking that front middle spot. Mola is going to. Most importantly, Mola just needs to provide the buff to the Odie. And Mola is soul pacted by the Thorn to protect her so that she doesn't die as easily, because she can sometimes die. And also it means that on the third life, Thorn will take health from Mola to grant him his third life, and that will protect Odie a bit more. And anyway, we don't want to soul pact the Odie because we want to have Rainier's Elite Magic Charm bonus onto him. The sad thing is, before getting to end this boss mode, Smokey's damage output is very minor in contribution, but once we get to end this boss, the Smokey damage output from the blue aura is really high. It must be based on the amount of HP that the enemy has. Like these, before end this, the HP is not as high, so you're not getting as much damage per second, potentially, I'm not sure. Okay, so far so good. But you're seeing right now, Smokey is taking a lot of damage, and that is why having a Koko in here, if you don't have Mola, would probably be essential to keep your Smokey alive. So that will be the team that we try out next time. Okay, now Thorn is going to go down, and it will be a question of how long can we... Oh, unlucky. That was unlucky. Like, in the lucky runs, the Smokey would not die there. But a crit landed onto the Smokey, and then now going to follow it up by killing the Mola. And so our damage is going to be lower. But we'll show you now the replay at 2x speed of my top scoring run. And which actually got pretty close to this, to be honest. Like, Odie survives really well, even up until the end. Even though Mola died, I think, to a crit, and even the Smokey died to a crit, we still got over 60%, almost 29 billion damage score. And of course, Odie going to be topping the chart for damage, over 21 billion damage dealt. Okay, so in my top scoring replay, which is the 29763, I believe, the way the RNG was different, we can take a look at it, and we can even analyze it and decide, is it possible to even get higher than this score if I kept doing runs? Because if any of the heroes, either Mola or Smokey, die before like the 10-second left mark, then that means that we could probably do more runs and probably get an even better score. Yeah, when the boss deals so much damage, and especially when a crit can take out one of your heroes towards the end, then doing multiple attempts is going to be a great way of trying to get a higher score. Okay, so 43 seconds left. Yeah, there's not a major issue of anyone dying until the Thorn goes down to the final insta-kill. Then the damage kind of begins ramping up. Good, Smokey and Mola took it right there. Thorn goes down to the insta-kill. Now here, 20-second mark. See, so Smokey didn't die because no crit. That was the big difference. And now... even now, yeah, they all survive, yeah. So this is how the perfect run happens. Everyone survived up until the end, and this is to maximize your damage output. Smokey died with only 2-3 seconds left. That doesn't matter. So that is basically my all-time best score I can get with this team. Now, the safer team, but it will be a lower damage team, is now going to be running the Koko here. So Koko is over here. And I think the positioning is still pretty much optimal. Might as well have it in this positioning. Because if we put the Smokey outside the middle tile, the problem is he's not going to immediately buff up the Odie who's in this position with his aura. It's going to wait until the second tick of his aura. And that lowers damage output a bit. So this is going to be your best scoring team, but the problem is Smokey takes additional aggro from the boss, and so if you're having difficulty surviving even with this team, you can position Smokey to the right, and it will just be a little bit less attack buff uptime onto the Odie, not a huge difference. And you could then have Thorn, for example, in front of the Rainier, so Thorn takes the aggro from the beginning, and that will definitely help out probably your score. Okay, but let's take a look. Like, with the Koko in here, maybe there's not even any major risk of the team dying. Koko took a big hit there because of the Soul Pact, giving Thorn the third life. Damage reduction from Koko really helping out, but Mythic Plus of Koko is big for this shielding. The shielding will make a big difference to protecting your team. And that is why Koko is such a priority on the wish list until you have her Mythic Plus. 10 seconds left, okay. Yeah, of course this is not going to be near the top scoring version with Mola, but I mean almost 55% of the boss's health is definitely respectable. 26 billion damage, and Odie still contributed a lot. And comparing it to Mola, like the maximum version of Mola is 29.7 billion, like I did, with like perfect RNG. The Koko is very consistent, and it could maybe even get a bit over 26 billion, so not a bad option if you don't have the Mola. Okay, now next up, we're going to test, for example, if you don't have Rainier. Because the next version, like, now these 4 heroes, most people are going to have on their account. And even if you don't have them in Mythic Plus, these heroes work well at a lower ascension. So I'm going to consider all these heroes basically free to play. Because even at, like, few copies of them, they're going to work out. Now, the question is, who is going to be the best final team member? Now, the number one thing is we're going to be able to position like this because Odie is in the back, right? So we don't need to have Smokey taking all of the aggro from the front. There's just one problem. One problem is that if we soul pack the Smokey, then Smokey could be at the risk of dying when the third life is given off to the Thorn, because there's going to be massive health lost of the Smokey. So maybe you could try giving it to the Koko and have Smokey to the side. Now for the other hero option, it will depend on what you have on your account. Lily May is another good option. So I'm going to try you with Lily May as well. Like, let's say you don't have Rainier, but for some reason you have Lily May. I know this is not fully free to play friendly. We'll do another run after this, so I'll do this on 2 times speed, just so that it doesn't take up too much time. But I think you can definitely run double damage dealers, like maybe rather than Mola, for example, even in that other Smokey team I showed, but it's going to be much more risky and it will end up dying a bit earlier. But I think with this version, without the Rainier here, for example, the double damage dealers should be able to survive. We have the Koko for the damage reduction and shielding, and we have the Smokey for the healing. And even in this position, Smokey's blue aura is still going to contact the boss and deal damage, and is going to buff up your entire team. There was never a point in this match where Smokey was not buffing up your team because you're still grouped enough, close enough to the Smokey. Okay, so Koko took that hit from the third life of Thorn pretty well, not really any risk of dying. 13 seconds left, and because you have the Smokey and Koko both support, they're both going to be able to survive and get off their damage. The damage is going to be, yeah, definitely lower than the Rainier team, but not by much. So this is a great option if you have Lily May, and let's say you don't have Rainier at Mythic Plus. Now let's say you don't have either of them, like you don't have Lily May, you don't have Rainier, then I would probably recommend either Corin or Merily, depending on which of them you have more ascended. Yeah, you want to have them at Mythic Plus. If you're going to run Corin or Merily in Croaker, they should be at Mythic Plus. So I'm going to show you with Merily, because I think overall Merily would contribute more damage. The only argument for Corin could be that, and it won't really work, because if you have Corin in here, the problem is you still have more allies in the backline, and the backline allies are going to be taking the snowball, or this bubble from the boss, because he targets the most grouped up enemy place, whether it's the front line or the back line. You're still going to have 3 heroes in the back, even if you have Corin in the front, so that Corin will not really help you with that. And Merily's overall damage output, okay, is higher than the Corin overall, because she just has more damage. Corin is better if, for example, you need the shielding as well for some form of protection, so you can try that. And Corin is perfectly usable. If you have him at Mythic Plus, he still will be a pretty good option for you. But this Koko is so important, the damage reduction and the shielding, because what can happen is that shielding can take the burst right here of that bubble, and so it doesn't count as dealing damage while you have the ultimate running of Koko, so it's not going to be settled as true damage at the end of the duration of the ultimate. Okay, so 24.8 billion damage to that team with Merily as a second option. So this would probably be your best option. And now let's say, for example, you have none of these heroes, and you even, or maybe they're not all at Mythic Plus, then you can run something like Krugger. Krugger is always a pretty solid option, even though he doesn't synergize with this team pretty much at all, because, like, I mean, you have magical damage dealer, Corin is a physical damage dealer. He'll still tank the front, right? And that's kind of one advantage. And also, this is really good. Before you get Mythic Plus on your Thorin, you're going to need another hero to take the insta-kill, because Thorin can only take 2 insta-kills. Then the third one, another hero will have to take. And in this position, Krugger will be the one who will be taking the third insta-kill. You could actually probably change up the positioning and have the Krugger coming from the right side next to Smokey to get the attack buff right immediately. because that shield at the beginning of the fight that Krugger gets by being on an isolated tile, that doesn't really make any difference in this fight because that shield will wear off. And Krugger is not taking like lethal damage right now. So I think this is a good option. And all of these heroes can work at lower ascension. So that is why this is like the fully free-to-play version alternative. And let's see. What type of score can we get with this team? 20 seconds left still. Honestly, pretty impressive damage for 20 seconds left. And one more bit of bursting right now because the shield just wore off of the boss. 48.91%. In total, that will be 23.3 billion damage. Yeah, with the Krugger, who contributes a bit of damage himself. And those are basically my team recommendations for the King Croaker boss. You could even use Shakir instead of Krugger, but it wouldn't make much of a difference to the damage score because Shakir will not be buffing up your key heroes in the back, right? Because in this positioning, Odie is not able to get in the front unless you have a Rainier swap. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Good luck in getting a high score on the King Croaker, and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you want to join my AFK Journey Discord server, I have a link to that in the description of all of my videos, and over there we share tips on all the different game modes, and you can ask me questions and you can at me there, and I'm very responsive. I check Discord very regularly, and I can try to answer you all the questions you have, or you can get help from others there in the community. So thank you for watching guys. I'll hopefully see you in the next video, and until then everyone, peace out for now.